Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be seeing what are identifiers, keywords, data types, and a few more concepts like classes, objects, and much more. So let's get started. So let's start by creating a new class file. So just right click and then click on new, click on Java class. Let us give it some name. I'm naming it as java2.java. Hit enter. Now the IDE has created the class file for us. Do note that this file name and the class name is the same. So what is an identifier? Identifiers are basically used for identification purposes. Now you may ask what identification purpose? So now we use Java 2 over here to identify this class. This is the main class and the file name was java2, so we created a class name as java2 and we identified the main class with the java2 name. So this is an identifier. We saw that class name is an identifier. Now if we create the main function public static void main, this is the main function as I had said in the previous video. So over here string is special data type and also a class. So in Java string is a class. So string, which is a class name, is an identifier. First class name we saw was java2 and second was string. So this is an identifier. Now main is the name of the method, so main is also an identifier. Now R is an array and array is a data type, so we can say that the name of data type also is an identifier. So data type name, class name, and method names are identifiers. Now if we create some integer named as a equals to 5, so now we can also say that a is also an identifier. Identifier uniquely identifies any element in Java. So suppose if we give the name to a class like example and we create this class. So this example belongs to this class. That is, this example name identifies this class. So I hope you are clear with what are identifiers. Now identifiers are primarily used for naming purposes, and we use identifiers for naming classes, methods, variables, and labels. We have also seen the example of identifier in this same class, that is in this same file, what all identifiers have we used. And now let's see the rules for defining an identifier. So first and foremost rule is that identifiers must have alphanumeric characters. That is, identifier must either be from A to capital Z, it can contain small a to small z, or digits from 0 to 9. And the identifier names can also contain dollar and underscores. Except these, it cannot contain any special character. So these are the characters which we can use for naming of an identifier. Now let's see some example of identifiers. So if we create an integer variable int a equals to 6, so a belongs to this group and so it is a valid identifier. But let's see what if we use int $f equals to 10. So we can see we do not get any error, and thus we can use dollar character for naming identifiers. Now if we use bracket and g equals to 15, so see here we get an error, so we cannot use this character for naming. What if we use asterisk? Again it is throwing an error, so we cannot use it. So basically we cannot use anything except these two characters and any of the characters from these. If we use underscore, it's the same, I mean it doesn't give any error. The second rule is that we cannot have any spaces. By spaces, I mean if we create integer variable named as my number equals to 10. This my number is not a valid identifier because it contains a space. So in order to fix this, we can simply use underscore. If we use underscore, we can see that the error is gone and this is become a valid identifier now. So this was for the identifiers. Now let's see what are reserved words. Any programming language reserves some words for providing functionality to programmers. There are two types of reserved words. One is keywords and the other is literals. Keywords provide functionalities and literals define a value. Some example of keywords are the for, go to, then break, while, class. These all are keywords. In Java, there are 53 keywords and 3 literals. I've attached a link to an image which shows all the keywords used in Java. So these are the reserved words. Now we'll see what are data types in Java. So there are two types of data types, primitive data type. The other is non-primitive data type. In primitive data types, we have two types. One is Boolean and the other is numeric. In non-primitive data type, we have data types like array, string. Note that in the beginning of the video, I had told that string is a special type of data type, which is also a class. And there are many other data types, which are non-primitive data type. Now Boolean is a type which is of size 1 bit and it stores either the value of true or false. Now there are two types of numeric data type. One is character and other is integral value. So now character stores characters and integral value are further divided into two types, which are integer, other one is floating point. Now, integer don't have any decimal points. There are four types of integers. One is byte, other is short, next is int, and the last one is long. So these are integer types. Now let's see about floating point. Floating points are of two types. One is float and the other is double. So these are the data types which are in Java. So character is of 16 bits and its default value is /u0000. So this is the default value of character. Now Boolean is of 1 bit and its default value is false. Byte is of 8 bits and its default value is 0. Short is of 16 bits, its default value is 0. Int is of 32 bits, its default value is 0. Now long is of 64 bits, its default value is 0. Now comes the float. The float has decimal points. Example of float is 1.23236 f. So this is the float type, and double holds more number of decimals than float. So double is used for more precision than float. But if we wish to go for scientific calculation and our main aim is to get precision, then we must use the big decimal class instead of these two data types. We'll see the big decimal class in the future videos. Now we were talking about float. So float is of 32 bits and its default value is 0.0. Double is of 64 bits and its default value is 0.0. Now let's see what is string. So I was saying that string is a special type of class and a data type. So similar to other programming languages, we can create a string in Java also. If I want to create a string called name and I want to initialize it with my name. So I'll give it string RISHAPH and just end it. So this name will hold my name. Let's see an example. String name equals to, so now name holds this string value. So if we run this program, we can see that it will give this string as an output. We can see that it has output Rishabh Panesar. You can directly run your program from this triangle icon and just click on this and your program will be executed. Now we are done with string, and let's talk about classes. So what are classes? Classes are user-defined blueprint from which objects can be created. I know this sounds a bit complex, so let me explain it in simple words. User-defined blueprints means if we wish to create something, some object which holds different type of data types, and we don't want to create just one object, we need to create multiple objects. In that case, we use classes. So for example, if we wish to store some value of fruits, so there are some common characteristics in all the fruits. Every fruit has some color, every fruit has a weight, it has a size, and obviously a name. Now this will make the explanation of classes and objects simpler for you. So fruit will be the class name and color will be the property which we would like to store in the class objects. So let me create a class called fruit. Class fruit. Okay. So this is our class fruit. Now we'll create a string called name and color, and then we'll create an integer which stores the weight. So whenever any object will be created of this class, it will have all these values. So let me show you an example. Now if I create an object of class fruit, so in order to create an object, I need to use the new keyword. Whenever I create a new object, I need to use the new keyword. See again, the new keyword is a reserved keyword. So we cannot name any variable as new because new is already a reserved keyword. And it basically helps in instantiating our class by allocating some memory for a new object, and it returns the reference to the memory. So now we create a new object of this class fruit. So let's see how we create an object. So fruit, then we'll create some object named as mango equals to new. Then we'll use the constructor of the class. Now where does this constructor come from? We haven't used any constructor. So what is a constructor? Constructor is a method which has the same name of the class, but we have not used any method named as fruit. So it is a method provided by Java itself, which helps in allocating some memory to the new object. So now we give some properties to the mango object. So we give it a name equals to mango. We use the dot operator to access any properties of the class. Name is a property of the class which is of string type. We access the name property by using name of the object, and then we use the dot operator, and then we just typed in the name of the object and we gave the name as mango. So this was the name of object. Now we give it a weight equals to suppose 3. Now it has also got a weight. So now if we give it a color, suppose mango dot color equals to yellow. So our mango object has also got a color. Now if we wish to print these values, then we just have to give the command to print the name, weight and color. So how do we do this? Again, we need to access the name, weight and color using the dot operator, and we need to use the object's name. So this IDE has a good feature which helps us to directly use the shortcut key to write the code for printing a message. That is, if we write SOUT so and hit enter, then it automatically completes the code for us. Now we just have to write mango dot name. Let's see what we get the output as. So just click on run. See, we got the output as mango. Now if we wish to write the weight, so we'll write mango dot weight, then click on run. So we got the output as 3. So here we had given the weight as 3. Now if we wish to write name equals to mango, that is if we wish to print name arrow mango, how do we do this? We just have to use concatenation. So we write name, then arrow, and then plus. So what it will do is it will just concatenate this string, that is mango.name, which holds the value of mango. It will concatenate this string to the string which is passed in the parameter. So let's run this. See, we got the output as name arrow mango. So now we saw how to set the properties of a object and what is a class and what is an object, and how to instantiate an object. And we also saw what are identifiers, what are keywords, what are reserved words, what are different data types, what are the default values of data types, and what is the size of each data type. And we also saw the special data type, which is string, and this string belongs to the non-primitive data type, non-primitive. Then we saw classes. We saw a good example of class by taking a real life example, which is fruit, and then the properties of fruit as the properties of objects. So what is a class? We can also say that class is a set of properties that are common to object of one type. And objects are the basic units of object oriented programming. It represents real life entities. Now we saw that we also represented a real life entity, that is we also represented mango. Mango is a real life entity and it was an object in our example. Now what is public over here? Public is the access specifier. Actually we'll go in depth on the access specifier in the future videos because it is a big topic, but let me just give you a brief idea of what is access specifier. Access specifiers are of four types in Java. One is public, one is private, one is protected, last is default. In this video, I'll just tell what is public. So if we create a class with the access specifier public, then it will be accessible by any other classes which reside within the same file or some other file. So public specifiers have the highest level of accessibility among all the other specifiers. And this is not always good, but the one advantage which we get from public is it increases the level of accessibility of the class or the data type. We can use the access specifiers in methods and various variables also. If we create public int m equals to 10. So if we create a new object of this class example e1 equals to new example, then if we try to print e1 dot m, then it will be easily accessible within this class. Let's see. So we get the output as 10, but let's see if what will happen if we take the if we set the access specifier to private. So changing this public to private. Now let's see. it has given an error. So let me just zoom it. Java M has a private access in this class. So we are not able to access this M. But when this M was public, we could easily access it. We'll see this access specifiers in more detail in the future videos. So thank you for watching this video. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel.